Borderline personality disorder. I recently had the opportunity to read my medical records from my doctor and from the hospital for multiple visits over the last 2 to 3 years. Borderline personality disorder is a personality type characterized by difficulty forming and keeping stable relationship, highly emotional or aggressive behavior, impulsivity, rapid shifts in values, self-image, mood, and behavior. Until now, or until very recently, I attributed my breakdown to side effects from medication, to menopause, and to a dramatic negative event that occurred in my life. After reading my medical records that I acquired because I had a personal injury lawyer working with me on my broken foot and hand, and we decided that we weren't having any difficulty and didn't need a personal injury lawyer anymore, so those records were forwarded to me by him. And in reading those, I realized that my doctors and the hospital were not honest with me. Nobody told me that there was anything wrong. They always sent me home. They always told me I was fine. They always told me, just get over it. And when I look at these records and I read as far back as they go, which is at least 2 years in the terms of the hospital and further back with my doctor, it's identified as borderline personality disorder. Yet, I was never told. Nobody ever once said those 3 words to me until, I believe it was August 8th, when my husband told me that the caseworker at the hospital mentioned it might be a problem that I have. So in looking further into what is borderline personality disorder, I definitely fit the stereotype, and I believe that I probably had this disorder my entire life. And the 3 events that I attributed to my breakdown to just heightened the problem to begin with. And the fact that the hospital and the doctors never actually said anything, even though it is written, typed even, in their notes, that this is what they've identified me with, did not provide any evaluations, did not provide any medication or advice, or they didn't do anything. They didn't even tell me about it. So I'm learning more about it now because I'm reading about it and I'm understanding it, and it's a genetic disorder. And when I look at the description, again, my mother could have had it. My sister may have it. Brothers, maybe, I don't know. But it's definitely a genetic disorder that is heightened by different things. So there are triggers that can cause the disorder to be more than what it is. For example, I'm not a patient person. I'm also a very controlling person. So if things don't go my way, I try and make them go my way, in whatever means necessary sometimes. And in the last couple of years, those means have been negative means. So environmental triggers can cause any number of things to happen, and as a person with BPD, you respond to that environment the way that you know how, or the way that you think is necessary to get what you want. And that's pretty much what it is. The other trigger is emotional, a fear of abandonment, a fear of being left alone, which is the same thing, but being alone is definitely high on the list. Being unwanted, undesired. So you counteract that by pushing people away, not keeping stable relationships, being aggressive and impulsive. I don't look at myself as somebody else would. I don't look at myself like I've been told that I'm beautiful, and I don't see that. I don't feel that. And probably doesn't matter how many times somebody would tell me that, I wouldn't believe it, because my character doesn't allow me to believe it. My behaviors are often erratic, and it's kind of like a roller coaster, because you never really know from one day to the next whether it will be a good day or a bad day. And even a good day, it can still be a bad day. But my point to all this is that the last 2 years have dramatically impacted my life. I've moved 5,000 miles away from my home, my family. I have lost 2, possibly 3 of my children. One of them, we are working on rebuilding a relationship. The other 2, not as yet. And who knows, maybe not ever. I have to leave that up to them, because the way I would go at it is to chase after them. Part of the reason why I moved so far away was so that I couldn't go knocking on their door. My husband will be my ex-husband. He put up with it for 25 years, and God bless him for doing it, but he's had enough. So in this case, I didn't push him away. He left, but that doesn't mean that I didn't push him many times over, and he finally let the door close behind him. So I'm disappointed in our medical system, and being the month of May, and it's Mental Awareness Month, I wanted to add this to my blog simply because if the doctors aren't telling us what's wrong and aren't helping us to correct it or adjust it or cope with it, we only have ourselves to figure that out, and we don't have degrees in identifying such a thing. And the only way that I found out was because I luckily got a hold of my medical reports, which, by the way, if you ever want your medical report, all you have to do is ask for it. You do have to pay for them to copy it, but you can get it, and it's interesting to see what your doctor has to say about you. It's definitely interesting what hospitals write down in their charts about you. So if you ever get the opportunity, hindsight is it's kind of ironic, it's kind of humorous, but at the time of, I think our hospital system really needs to take a step back and understand mental awareness, mental anything, and better handle the situations, no matter what, because it's not something that we just stop thinking about. We need to stop the stigma. We need to prevent them from thinking that we're not like anybody else and we should be locked up and the key thrown away. Instead, they need to learn how to identify quicker the problem and help resolve the problem and help us with the problem cope with the problem. So my blog today that I'm posting with this video is in support of Mental Awareness Month, and I'm raising the flag to say, stop the stigma. Don't let it continue.